100 projectiles in total were fired at Kyiv and at small cities in Kyiv Oblast, the region around the capital. And there were a lot of, for one thing, we had no power pretty much all of yesterday. Electricity substations and generators were taken down all throughout the city. So
the Florida summit could change the course of the war or confirm global hesitation. Ukraine doesn't need promises anymore. It needs decisions.
We're very, very lucky there weren't more. And there were also civilian apartment blocks that were smashed up all around the city. I went to one early yesterday morning, and it was full of first responders who were putting out the fires and helping get people out from the destroyed apartments under the rubble. A really, really horrible sight. On the upside, though, Ukraine has now gotten much, much better at its own homegrown air defense system, and also using US-supplied F-16s, fighter jets, to take down.
This is the reality Ukraine brings to the table. Not diplomacy, not theory, but darkness, destruction and endurance. 4 years into a war that refuses to end.
Lies to supply now.
So I actually had a conversation yesterday with an aide of President Zelenskyy, and he gave an interesting answer, which he said, honestly, what we need more than anything is more money. Because this far in the war, remember, we're 4 years into the war, the vast majority of the military innovations that are happening in world affairs right now are on the battlefields in Ukraine itself. Ukraine now produces the vast majority of long-range strike drones, short-range, FPV and bomber drones, the naval sea drones that it uses to basically take out the Russian fleet in the Black Sea. What it really needs to be able to do is help scale up its own homegrown industrial capacity, because it actually has a lot more military knowledge and wherewithal than basically any other country in the world does at the moment. That said, in terms of specific systems that Ukraine can't produce...
Hey, this summit isn't just about ending a war. It's about defining peace. Because for Ukraine, a deal that rewards invasion isn't peace. It's surrender.
Damage to Russia's oil, gas, logistics infrastructures that are much deeper into the Russian Federation than Ukraine can currently hit at the moment.
And tell me about the reaction of the ordinary Ukrainian people to the fact that Donald Trump seems to always side with Vladimir Putin here, because I think people in Europe find it utterly bizarre. People speculate, has Putin got some sort of compromise on Trump in some way, because that seems to be the only logical explanation.
Yeah, it's weird. I've often wondered that myself. It's like, what could the Russians even have on him at this point that isn't already known about him? But look, honestly, in a way, a lot of people in Ukraine have started to slightly tune out of the endless back and forth peace negotiations that are going on with Moscow and Zelenskyy and Trump.
There was hope that strength would replace hesitation. But when Russian narratives are repeated instead of challenged, hope quickly turns into warning.
More likely to end with the exhaustion or even hopefully the defeat of Vladimir Putin's army on the battlefield. Now, there's also a lot of disappointment, I think, in Trump, because there was some sense, I think, when he was elected, okay, maybe he'll come in and be a really hard man and he'll give us the systems that Biden wasn't willing to give us, but that very, very quickly sort of melted away after Trump, and not only Trump, but, Trump's lieutenants, people like J.D. Vance or his hapless negotiator, Steve Witkoff, when they kept on repeating effectively in interviews Russian narratives almost completely verbatim. So there's a lot of disappointment with the Trump administration here. And I think that most people's belief in some kind of a peace deal are fairly minimal at this point, but not all hope, I think, has been lost.
And tell us about what the Ukrainian people are thinking about the future of this fight back against Russia, because we...
Hey, this summit isn't just about ending a war. It's about defining peace. Because for Ukraine, a deal that rewards invasion isn't peace. It's surrender.
Right, you're absolutely right, especially on 2 points there. The first is that, yes, everybody in Russia, like I'm constantly told, yes, but don't Ukrainians want the war to win? Well, of course they want the war to win. They just don't want to surrender the country to Vladimir Putin. And a lot of people are very, very worried that the peace terms on offer by Moscow are not real peace terms. What they are is a chance for Russia to get on the diplomatic sphere what they couldn't get on the military sphere, i.e. large parts of Donetsk Oblast that they haven't been able to conquer, despite having, been cracking away at it for 4 years now. And I think another thing is important as well is that, yes, Zelenskyy is less popular than he was at the start of the war. There is real concern, not just with his handling of the war, but with his handling of internal corruption. However, support for Zelenskyy does not, a lack of support in some areas for Zelenskyy does not at all mean that those.
Also, will the Florida summit deliver a breakthrough or expose a dangerous illusion? Is this diplomacy or delay? What do you think? Share your thoughts in the comments. Subscribe and turn on notifications for more LBC-style analysis. History isn't waiting.